I wonder, will you love us for having created you? Will the world you build be like ours, or so different that we today cannot even imagine it?
We're catching up on a game that we first saw at E3, the Talos Principle. Back then it was in a nice little trailer. Now you're showing it behind us here in a booth here at Gamescom. What is it that you're showing off here to set the stage?
Right now we're showing a demo that was specifically created for such situations to give an idea of the game. It's not just the beginning of the game, but it's something that was created for E3 or for Gamescom or for such things. And it shows off some of the elements of the game so that people can get an idea of what it's like to play it without spoiling too much or just forcing you to just play the beginning of the game.
Because it feels like a difficult game to demo at sort of a confined time and space.
Not really, not necessarily, because it is quite sort of easy to pick up and play and get into it. But I think they wanted to show, multiple mechanics and other such things, which obviously would only come into play if you played for a while. So if somebody's going to play it for just 15 minutes or 20 or 30, then it's useful to have some of them in one place. So that's why they designed this specifically for that. That was the idea.
So when we started talking here, we were a little bit confused about the Talos Principle. And as a writer, what's the story here? What's the setting, and what's the significance of the title?
The title refers to a philosophical principle, which is fictional, but which we created for the purpose of this game and attributed to a, again, fictional Greek philosopher. It's part of what we've done to sort of weave fiction and non-fiction together for the setting and the background. And the story is really something for the player to figure out themselves, but you find yourself, very much like in other games, in this sort of strange abandoned world, which is clearly sort of ruins of an ancient civilization, Rome or Egypt or medieval times, but there's all this weird technology around, and there's a voice in the sky that's speaking to you, and then there's terminals with text on them, and maybe there's something in those terminals as well that's intelligent, and you have no idea what's going on. If you look at your hand, you see that you're a robot of some kind, or you appear to be a robot of some kind, and the game doesn't really hit you over the head with answers or with story. There's a lot to dig into, there's a lot to find in there, but you have to look for it, which I think is refreshing in a way. It's not just going to pop up 20 pages of lore on the side or something, or there's not going to be a 10-hour cinematic that's going to tell you everything. But if you want to, you'll dig into this game, you'll solve puzzles, you'll find hidden areas, and you'll sort of put it together in your own head what all of it means, what's really going on, what happened, what's going to happen, and also where you stand in regards to all this, to the various forces in play and what they want and what you think is the right thing to do with your life, such as it is in the game.
It's the kind of narrative that I truly enjoy playing, but I also understand that this can be quite a challenge in terms of the design of the narrative, because you really have to design it with perhaps different players in mind, so they each get a takeaway from it.
Definitely. There's two elements there, two things that we've done. One is that the game consists of many perspectives. It's not that there isn't one truth to what's going on, there is, but there's many ways of thinking about it. There's many sort of found texts in there, some real, some fictional, written by us, and it's really up to you to decide where you stand, but the game gives you a lot of variety. And that's also helped by the fact that we all bring different perspectives to it as developers and writers. Tom has different ideas than I do, Crow Team has different ideas than I do, and we've all sort of put them together and created this interesting soup out of them. And you can sort of pick out the bits that you like or figure out what you think about them. It's very much a game about synthesis, about taking various cultural, philosophical, religious elements and fusing them together. And that's kind of what we've done also in developing it, that all these people with different ideas have come together and created one thing. And also what we've done is that we've made a game where the narrative is something you can dig into, really, but you don't have to. You could play the whole game and never see a lot of the hidden things. You could never figure out why some of the things are happening. There's an answer to literally every small detail somewhere in there that you can at least somehow get if you think about it. But if you are the kind of player who just loves puzzles, I mean, some people, they play the worst adventure games from the 90s because they just love puzzles, even if there's basically no story attached to them. And if you're that kind of player, you'll get a more surreal story. You'll get a story with fewer answers. You'll still have like the themes and the atmosphere of the game, but you won't have all the answers. But if that's what you dig, then that's what you get. And so there's a variety of possible player experiences in there. And I think that's why it feels friendly as a game in a way, because it wants to entertain you and also make you think, but it doesn't want to attack you with this stuff. It doesn't want to hit you over the head with it. So it's really flexible for you as the player. That's I think what we really consciously try to do there.
Sounds like a very difficult balance act as a writer to sort of, because you obviously, you said it yourself, there is a truth there is a story that you sort of outline, and that this is the actual event. But at the same time, you have to sort of allow the player that ownership of, they make the story themselves in their heads, and you can't,
Yeah, that is an interesting balancing act, but it's also fun. It's also fun for us as writers to do that, and to say, oh, you know what, there's this text by so-and-so, I don't know, Chesterton or somebody, which, has a completely different perspective on what it means to be human, or what dogma is, or what belief is, and why don't we put it like there, and that'll give a completely new angle on it. So that's fun to add all those elements, as long as we have an idea of what the overall story is, what the overall meaning is to the things that you see. I mean, not meaning in the sense of morals, that you have to decide for yourself what you think is right and what is wrong, but just like what's actually happening. Why the hell am I solving these puzzles? Like, that's one of the central questions, like, why the hell are you solving these puzzles? The game doesn't pretend that they're not puzzles. I mean, even the characters know that these are puzzles, and there's just a world full of puzzles, and why the hell are we doing this? So we need to know that, we as the writers need to have a very clear explanation for why all of this is happening. And then you can make up your own mind as to whether the correct thing is to keep solving them, or to, try to go against the system somehow, or whatever, But as I said, that's the fun part for us as writers.
So where are you at with the game right now, and sort of what's left to do, and what?
It's almost finished. There's all this technical stuff when you finish a game, and then there's a million little things, and polishing it, and making sure it comes out and works on the consoles, and it comes out here, and it comes out there, all this, nonsense that just comes with the territory. But right now you can play the whole game from beginning to end, and everything's in place. We're still working on adding, we had some really cool ideas that we haven't implemented, but small stuff that adds to the atmosphere, doing some re-recording of some voices just to make things match properly. But it's there, it can be played, it's stable, it's everything, which is really nice for us as writers also to be able to go over it and actually play it and look at it and not have something that's still broken. And so yeah, no, it's
So some coming out soon then?
in the fall. I mean, we don't have a specific date, because with these things, if you say a date, it's not going to be that day. It's like the one thing you're making sure is that it's not going to be that day. So with that logic in mind, it's at some point in the fall, but I really can't see, if somebody doesn't break into Crow Team headquarters and smash all the drives or something, I don't think it's going to be very late. And maybe some of the ports, I have no idea how that's going to work, but it is coming out on multiple platforms, so yeah, but it is coming out soon and actually coming out.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Your will is free because you were made to be free. Let your will be done.